All right, welcome back to the Justin Print Show. I'm excited for you guys today to meet, man, and really an amazing young man. Matthew Ode is he's a really special guy. And when you hear his perspective on life as a young 20 plus year old guy, 185 pounds, is basically diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, goes to 110 pounds, literally goes through multiple near death experiences. And when you hear how he overcame this and just the way he used his faith and his focus. It's just one of those incredible human stories. And so I'm excited for you guys to meet him. You'll want to make sure that you follow him on social. And if you get some value, make sure you like and subscribe and share the story. I think it's one that a lot of people are going to pull a lot of inspiration from. So I'm excited to introduce you guys to my friend, Matt Ode. So Matt, where were you when you first heard that you had cancer?
Oh, all right. So I was in a hospital room after 2 days of puking up blood. I was 24 years old. I was at the time an extremely healthy personal trainer. I was eating the right foods, working out every day. Started getting a lot of back pain throughout the summer. And then as a 24-year-old, you think you're invincible. You think
Mm.
that you can accomplish anything, or you feel like, you're able to overcome anything. And, of course, after puking up blood for 2 days, I get rushed to the emergency room. They think it was an ulcer in my stomach. They end up giving me 6 bags of blood. They found out I'd lost two-thirds of blood circulating in my body, which is equivalent to a gun wound shot. And the next day, I'm sitting with my 2 month girlfriend at the time. So we had just been dating for about 2 months, and my parents. And I'm thinking I'm ready to just go home. I think they fixed the ulcer, whatnot. And my doctor walks in. He has this blank stare in his eyes. And he comes over. He sits down with me. He grabs my hand and he goes, "Matt, we found an 11 centimeter tumor in your small intestine. We know it is cancer. We know it is a high stage cancer, but we don't know quite yet. And we have to rush you to the main campus of the Cleveland Clinic immediately." And right then and there, man, my life completely shifted forever. I remember looking over, I've never in my life seen my father cry, and
Mm.
seeing his tears come down. I didn't know what to do, but I just felt like I had to be this like strong individual, and I felt like I had to hold in my emotions, which was not the right necessarily thing to do. But that was the moment that I found out that I had stage 4 cancer.
And so, I mean, I feel like there's just like maybe not a scarier thing to hear about your own health, right? Is the word cancer just strikes just such a deep level of fear in your heart. How how would you describe the emotions that you felt when you were told that you had cancer?
Oh, yeah, man. I think it's such a shock. Anybody who hears the word you have cancer, it is such a shock to your system. And for me at the time, which is crazy because I never thought this would be how I felt. I thought I would, because a year and a half ago, before that, I had massive anxiety, panic attacks. I couldn't go on the highway. I was like freaking out. And you'd think, oh, he's going to have another panic attack. And I actually didn't, which is weird.
Mm.
Instead, all I could focus on was how am I going to be strong for my parents? How am I going to be strong for Lauren, which is my wife now,
Mm.
which be amazing story that I get to share with you. But my 2 months, dating Lauren for 2 months. I mean, is she gonna break up with me? Is she gonna,
Yeah.
stick with me? Who knows? And I just kept thinking, how am I gonna be strong for all these people? And what it was, I'm gonna tell you right now, was all it was doing was putting baggage after baggage onto my shoulders and really kind of draining me mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, because I wasn't allowed to express my emotions because I felt like I had to be strong for other people.
Mm. And you know, uh, I feel like like when there's a death, you go through like different stages of grief, for example. Do you feel like you process cancer the same way, like where you had different sets of emotions that you had to process through? I mean, it sounds like one of your first things you focused on was other people and being strong for them and setting a tone for them. But do you feel like you went through different stages or steps of processing it?
Yeah, here's what I'll tell you. In any stage of death or any stage of a near death experience, it is good to grieve. It is good to be upset. It's a good to, kind of try to feel your emotions out, but you cannot live in your emotions. You cannot live in the grief. You cannot live in that situation because all it's going to do is you will become the victim of that situation. There's a little saying, everything in life happens for you, not to you. And for me, man, if all you do in every situation is why is this happening to me? Why me in this situation? This is unfair. God, why would you do this to my life? All of these things, man, all you're gonna do is it's just gonna make your life miserable. It's gonna make your life more challenging. It's going to make the road way more difficult down that path. But if you say, God, I know this is unfair. I know this is a challenging moment, but what is the lesson? How is this happening for me? What is the lesson in life that you are able to give me that can maybe help me become a better version of myself, but more importantly, down the road, allow me to use it to inspire and help other people. That is life, man. That is life, is using your experiences, the hardship. It's not this easy road. If everything was easy in life, everybody would be able to accomplish amazing things. We'd all have amazing, businesses or amazing accomplishments, all this money, things like that. It's the hard times that you use as lessons to better yourself and then use it to help change others who have gone through similar situations in their life.
Where do you think you gained that perspective to, when adversity hit,
Mhm.
you kind of shifted to like, hey, this is somehow happening for me. One of my dear friends went through addiction. Her name's Moira Kashaba, just a really special woman. And her line is a different way of saying what you're saying, which she said, what is the gift in this? How did you shift your focus to focus on that versus the pain and the fear and the uncertainty and the doubt and the physical discomfort? I know you went from, like, for example, 185 to 110 pounds. I mean, how are you keeping a positive? What were you doing to keep a positive mindset as you're going through all of this?
Yeah, there are stages, man. There are stages in everything in life. So, like, you're going to have these roller coaster of emotions. You're going to have this part where you're like, okay, I learned this lesson. I'm on this high. And then another adversity knocks you right back down. And you're like, okay, another high, another low. There's a couple of different things. Number one, I'm going to show you just my shirt, powered by faith. My faith in Jesus Christ. Like, I'm a
Hmm.
Christian. I don't push faith on anybody, but for me as a Christian, number one, and that is my mom. So my mom, she would just have, before all this, going to church every Sunday, having, whether it was just like little groups, where we would do prayer sessions or just kind of talk through things, or just her having me pick up a Bible. And for me, my objective every day is to read one page of the Bible every single day. No questions. It's a non-negotiable. And that was my number one thing. Is my number one thing is faith. Because at the end of the day, the only person that is going to change your life is you. And the only person that can really help you is your faith. So, and Jesus Christ can help you kind of make that shift forward. So that's number one, is my faith. So that was a huge part of helping me start to learn that lesson. Number two was my discipline. My dad, being a business owner
Hmm.
and being my coach, which I was very blessed to have him as such an amazing father. And I see you as such an amazing father to your children as well through, your Instagram stories and things like that, is being
Hmm.
present with your kid, and not just being present with them, but teaching them things that, they've learned through their own experiences. And my dad, being a hard knock person and a business owner and things like that, he was hard on me, whether as a baseball coach, a basketball coach, a cross country coach, all of these things. And I had a lot of discipline. So I knew that if I could just focus on one day at a time and
Mhm.
what I can do today, that's a key, man, is like being present in that moment, learning from your past, not dwelling on it, and not being anxious about your future, but planning for your future. That's how I look at it. And then saying, what can I do today? And that's what I had to focus on, was what can I focus on today that's going to push that needle forward? That really helped me as well to elevate myself to that next level. And then the last thing, man, is when I started getting on my journey of really healing after all of the complications that, I'll explain here in a little bit, um, I started to do research on people that I could relate to. And
Mm.
for me, I came across a man, and his name was Ed Milet. He's an
Hmm.
entrepreneur. You might know him. If anybody's in the business field, they probably know who Ed Milet is. To me, he's a very motivational guy. And I watched one podcast of his, and it was with this guy named Omar. And basically, here's what the headline was: 0 to 400 million. Caught my attention. I was like, oh, wow. Okay, this is a huge business owner, blah, blah, blah. You want to know the crazy part, man? The dude didn't talk anything about money. He talked all about mindset. He talked all about using his life challenges to get to where he was. And I said, holy cow, like, how can I use all of my life challenges to get to where I want to be in my life? And
Yeah.
then I started to join business groups and things like that. And I always say you're the average of the 5 people you hang around with the most. So I started hanging around with people that inspired, elevated me, and it gave me the courage to share my story and my message.
So from that first day you hear, you have cancer
Hmm?
until, basically they say you're in remission or you have a clean bill of health. Walk us through how long was that journey and what was
Hmm?
that journey like? Because I know that was not it was not an easy road.
Yeah, I could give you the hour version. I'm going to give you the quick 2 minute version here. So, first things first, I get diagnosed immediately that day. They rushed me to the clinic, do about no joke, like 20, 30 tests on me, find out that I have stage 4 testicular cancer. Craziest part about it, you're like, Matt, once you have symptoms in your testicle, mostly everybody does. And craziest part is I never had a symptom in my testicle. So it all just formed in my small intestine. Somehow it originated there.
Hmm.
Immediately right after they figured that out, they knew what kind of chemo I needed to go on. So they put me on an extremely intense chemotherapy for 3 months. Immediately within like 2 weeks, I'm losing my hair. I'm dwindling my weight, all of these things. Get done with chemotherapy. I think, that's the hard part. But really, next I have what's called an RPL&D surgery. So this is a 12-hour surgery to remove. So they shrunk my tumor down, which was the good news. They shrunk it down from the chemo from 11 centimeters to about 3. And then with this surgery, they had to remove the rest of the tumor and the rest of the cancer in my body. The complicated part was my tumor was wrapped around what's called my vena cava. This is a central vein that goes from your bottom of your body to your heart. They had to remove the vein, they had to remove the tumor and the rest of the cancer. When they did so, my body went into what's called compartment syndrome. I ended up having kidney and liver failure. My body
Mm.
completely shut down, and I went into a 2 week non-induced coma. After my 2 week coma, I ended up being in the ICU for over 40 plus days. I ended up going into cardiac arrest during that time because when they went to go take out one of the catheters in my neck, I had what's called an arrhythm heartbeat. They had to do 7 minutes of CPR on me to bring me back to life, put me into another 1 week coma. Um,
Mm.
I ended up being in the hospital for over 53 days. I ended up having to learn to walk, relive my entire life again. And like I told you, I dwindled down from a 185-pound personal trainer to 110 pounds in just a matter of about 8 months. But here's a really crazy story, and I want to share two of them with you. But I'll share the first one with you because it's really special with me and my now wife. And at the time, we met on St. Patrick's Day. So actually, just a couple days ago, we met.
Yeah.
That was our 9 year anniversary. We met on March 17, 2016. Throughout all of those complications and everything, and what I went through, I was released from the hospital after 53 days on March 17th of 2017.
Wow.
And no joke, like that is not a coincidence. Like they had no idea. I mean, gosh, I really want to talk about Tacoma when in a second because there's the power of prayer and the power of, my faith and stuff like that, if that's okay with you. But man,
Yeah, of course.
like it was just like God bringing her into my life, and man, was she just like, I call her basically, my angel, because it's like she literally was like an angel sent down for me. So
Yeah.
that's just like an incredible story about the whole situation. So
Yeah, it's just it speaks so much to the power of hope. It's like you created a compelling future. Hope or vision answers the question for all of us is it always going to be this way? So when you're going through a really hard time or really dark night or a really challenging time, if you have a compelling future or a compelling vision or you have hope, then you know it's not always going to be this way and that this too shall pass and we're going to get through this thing. And I think your girlfriend and now wife, I think she was part of that compelling future. And sounds like you guys have got that compelling future's come to life here, here soon. So man, excited for you and couldn't be happier for you. You got a little your first little baby on the way.
Oh, yeah, man, 5 days. I can't even believe it right now. It doesn't feel real. And maybe you can attest to this, like your first child, it doesn't until I'm sure you see it come out, like it's not real. It just is like, okay, this is like not reality yet. But man, to see that we went through all of those challenges in life and to now, years later, married and having our first child, especially the way that it is through IVF and not, not knowing if we'll ever even be able to, naturally have a child. It's just like
Mm.
it's God's way of saying, "Hey, listen, you went through some hard times, but I'm gonna give you some amazing things through everything you've went through."
Well, congratulations. That is so exciting.
Thanks,
And
Justin.
so after you, so let me make sure I'm understanding. So the 53 days, because you're on the chemo was for 3 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that
what was the how long was that period, as you went through all of that?
yeah. So chemo was 3 months. Then I get a whole month period off. Then I had a 12-hour surgery where they did all the things with my tumor and the cancer. I went home for literally like 4 days, and I just remember waking up in so much pain because my body was shutting down, and all these complications was happening that I got rushed back, and from there I blacked out. The next thing I knew, I woke up, I was out of my coma, 2 weeks later. So that 53 days in the hospital didn't even start until, January. And
Mm,
I was going through chemo from August to November, end of November, and then took a break in December, had my surgery early January, went back in the hospital, and then that's where everything came.
absolutely incredible. If as you think back on it, did you ever have times of just like, I give up, I quit, like no more positive for me, no more compelling future, like just take me now, I'm done. Like, did you ever just have like I'm done moments? And if so, how'd you overcome them?
My fifth and last surgery. I Before that, I was on so many drugs and so many things that I truly don't even think I could have even thought about that because it was just like, I mean, when I went in my 2 week coma, they didn't really, when I say 2 week coma, like they didn't know it could have been 2 days, it could have been 4 weeks. Um, but after that, I had four additional surgeries after coming out of that coma on my stomach. So I have what's called an open wound surgery on my fifth surgery. So what had happened
Mm,
was they did four surgeries on my stomach where they basically had to go in, do a bunch of stuff, and it was just complication after complication after complication. And here's what it was. I was actually ready to go home on March 1st. I'm not even kidding you. They were about to wheel me out. My stitches burst. I don't want to get too detailed. My stitches burst open, spleen, everything, rush into a major surgery. Literally,
mm,
they had to take out all of my abdominals. They had to basically put a massive mesh over it. And I have a football size hernia on my stomach. And I remember waking up about a day or two later, and my hands and my feet were tied to the bed. I woke up and I still had a breathing tube in my mouth because they didn't know that I was like, if or when, I mean, they knew I was going to be starting to wake up, but I had a breathing tube and I was conscious of what's going on. And I remember this part, man. This is very vivid. I remember what was going on after that part. I woke up and I was like, okay, for a second, where am I? And then I was like, okay, I know exactly what happened, blah, blah, blah. And I remember praying to God. I said, God, listen, man, I am at about as rock bottom as I can get, man. You either take me or you shift my life right now, man. I need a new
Hmm.
chapter. And brother, here's the thing. When I was recovering before all that, they would have me try to do laps around the hospital room, and I could barely make it like 15 feet. I had to sit down. I was in so much pain. Dude, whatever they did in that surgery, it was God's work, man. Because I'm telling you, that day, I got my ass up, dude, and I almost made it around the whole hospital floor, man. Like, I don't, dude, it was like God just giving me this like beam of energy and light. And here's my message to anybody today. Sometimes we may need to hit the lowest of lowest points in our lives for God to just completely shift us.
Yeah.
And I want somebody to know that today. If you feel like you are ready to give up, please just go one more day. Just say one
Yeah.
more day. Say, God, give me one more day. And I'm telling you, he may give you the greatest breakthrough of your entire life. And that was
Yeah.
it.
You know what's so interesting? I think kind of what happens to you at that point is you finally submit to, you're like, you actually lean to your point. You kind of like you really are powered by faith because it's almost like you can't do it all yourself at that point. You finally realize you've tried everything, you've exhausted everything, you've tried to lift it all yourself, and you almost give it to God. You kind of put it on his shoulders, and that's actually when you gain really that supernatural strength and that supernatural hope is when God kind of takes over in your life. You're just like, yo, I'm gonna submit, my will to your will. And I think at the end of the day, some people don't have to go all the way to rock bottom to be willing to submit to God's will, and other people, that's the only way you're going to get there. But once you finally do that, I think there's a different peace that you can feel in your heart and feel in your life, and I think that's part of what you experienced.
That's it, man. Like, and you can't explain the part of surrender. You just have to do it. Like how like if someone's like, can you explain it? No, I'll try to explain it. The best way I can explain it is literally every worry that I have. I know that's not in my control. I literally have to just eliminate it from my brain and say, God, take control, take the realm of my life and just allow me to go forward. You have to put your faith over your fear. You have to. At the end of the day, you have to put your faith over your fear because that's the biggest breakthrough is going to come through the scariest first step that you take. Once you take that step, you realize it's not as scary as it actually was. Your mind plays so many tricks on you. Anxiety is basically just stories elevated to the highest level.
Hmm.
You say that oh man, if I don't get this job opportunity, and you have all these anxious thoughts, well, if I don't get this job opportunity, I'm going to go broke. My wife's going to divorce me. I'm going to be left on the streets. I'm going to end up going homeless, and then I'm going to end up killing myself. That's what you're like, that is what anxiety is. It is literally taking a story and elevating it to the highest level.
Hmm. So I think one of the things that's interesting that you've dedicated a lot of your life to now is you're saying that like doctors and nurses and our healthcare professionals, they do such a great job of taking care of you while you're, in
Hmm?
in those procedures and even aftercare and so on. But it's like the aftercare. It's like, what do you do once you're kind of like through it, the emotional side of it, and keeping your head in the right place and so on. So what are you up to now when it comes to that? Like, how are you serving people that are facing their own challenges, and whether it's with cancer or other, challenges that they're facing in their life?
Yeah. And I think I said this off of camera, so I'll say it on camera. But in order to be selfless for others, you must be selfish for yourself first. You must learn to take care of yourself before you can inspire and change other people's lives. So, like I told you before, I was 110 pounds, learning to walk again, learning to rebuild myself again. Dude, I would pick up 100-pound dumbbells and I could rep them for, 7, 8, 9 reps. And I was like feeling amazing. 8 months later, dude, I was picking up 2.5-pound dumbbells and I wasn't even able to lift them over my head. That was
Mm,
in a matter of in 8 months. And I look in the mirror, I had a six pack, I was feeling great, I was feeling like I was on top of the world. I look in the mirror and I'm a skeleton, I'm a shell of myself. And
mm,
body image issues, everything and in between. Here's what I did. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're on your own health journey, you're on your own, whatever journey you're on, man, you have to take it one step at a time. And here's what I did. Here's how I learned how to walk. I had a wheelchair and I had a lawn chair. I had my wheelchair at one end of the driveway, and I had my lawn chair about 20 meters, 30 meters at the other end. I would get all my might up. I would walk all the way. I'd get to that lawn chair, use all my energy, sit down, contemplate life for about 30 seconds, get my ass back up, and walk back to that wheelchair. And you know what I did the next day? I freaking moved that lawn chair just 5 more feet. You know what
Mm.
I did? Another 5 feet. Next thing you knew, it was not in the driveway anymore. It was in the sidewalk. Next thing you knew, I said, you know what? One day, don't even bring that damn lawn chair anymore. I'm going to go all the way there, and I'm going to come all the way freaking back. And that totally shifted my mind, man. And then I just kept going one day after another. And then from the 2.5 pound dumbbell, I went to 5 pounds. Then one day I was like, you know what? I can lift stuff over my head. I started using a little bit of resistance bands. And it was just small incrementals. And then I was starting off by eating 500 calories. Dude, I could barely eat anything. I had all these, these wounds and everything in my stomach. Started eating 600 calories, started eating 700 calories, and started to gain my weight back, started to gain my strength back.
Mm.
And the most important part is I started to get my confidence back, man. I started to get my momentum. Momentum equals confidence, and confidence equals the results that you want because you feel like you can accomplish anything, man. So I started to get my confidence back because I was disciplined. I used my faith by taking those scary first steps, and I focused on one day at a time, and I didn't get too ahead of myself. Next thing you knew, 3 months down the road, I was 120 pounds. Then 6 months down the road, I was 130 pounds. A year from then, I was 160 pounds. 2 years from then, which was when I finally was able to start helping and healing other people, I was back to about 175 pounds. I was able to lift anything I wanted again. I was going for
Mm.
5 mile walks. Dude, we overestimate what we can do in weeks and months, but we underestimate what we can do in years. I'm going to tell you that again. We overestimate what we can do in weeks and months, but we underestimate what we can do in a year or 2 years. And if you think a year and 2 years forever, you're never going to accomplish what you really want to accomplish in life, man. What you can accomplish in 2 to 5 to 10 years is astronomical if you just be consistent every day.
Mm. And your story is just one of those just incredible human stories, and just the power of focus, choosing what to focus on, the power of faith, the power of having, significant resilience and picking yourself up, when you get knocked down repeatedly over and over and over, and persisting until you succeed. It's just a beautiful story. And I'm really excited for more and more people to hear your story. How do people connect with you, and what's the best way for people to kind of get closer and more access to your philosophy and your mindset?
Really appreciate that, Justin. Yeah, if you just go into Instagram, it's MATTY_ODE, so Matty_Ode. Facebook, you can go just Matt Ode. YouTube and TikTok, also Matt Ode. So if you want longer form content, go onto YouTube. If you want shorter form content and you really want to dive into my story, Instagram, Facebook, and also TikTok, where I'll do like 2-minute videos. And then if you are a cancer patient, survivor, or caregiver, I have a group called Taking Back Your Life from Cancer. I've grown that group in about 2.5 years to about 7,500 members, and it's completely free, no strings attached. There's nothing involved except for support and love, and just trying to help each other through whatever they're going through, man. And that's what it's all about. So
Love it. Man, what an honor to meet you, brother, and what an honor to have you on here. And I'm excited to continue to watch the lessons that you've learned from this journey, be a blessing to other people's lives. So I appreciate you being on.
thanks, Justin. I appreciate you having me, man. Really appreciate it.